these racing cars always look good in your collection because nice and colourful. This is a nice point of difference. Hello, this is BJ from Hearns Hobbies, and today I'm going to be looking at this particular kit. This is a Hasegawa Porsche 944 as raced in 1987 at the SCCA endurance races. Now this particular 944 is the turbo version, and if you're not familiar with 944s, this was a derivative of the 924, which was the start of their sort of pointy-nosed cars. I think they preceded that with, well, actually maybe it came later, the 928, which was also a front-engined car with rear-wheel drive. Okay, so it's got this nice Rothmans type sponsorship. Of course, there's no Rothmans actually written on it. They've got Porsche there instead. And I guess if it actually did have Rothmans on it, then you'll be able to find some aftermarket decals. All right, let's have a close look at the box. So I've got it here. Very nice box art. Box art is always good, being eye-catching, helps you sort of visualize how your finished model is going to look. On the sides, there's a little bit of information there. And then on this side, just got some size data. So there's 111 pieces, 124 scale I should add. Okay, let's have a closer look inside and see what they offer us. Okay, so you've got a fairly standard sort of thickness of kit here. There's a few sprues, got little bits you can see there, a few extras. This actually is a full engine detailed kit, so hence engine bay is open. All right, let's have a closer look at the bits as we go. All right, so in here we have the clear parts with the decals. All right, so we take out the clear parts. So you have your front windscreen with the side mirrors, the side windows complete in one piece, and then your rear hatch window is there. We've got light lenses for the front and the back as well. In this little packet here, we have some hoses. You probably see the hoses easier if I do this. And then there's a sash of material which will be used for the seat belts. Okay, so the rubber hoses there, all flexible. You'll be using those in the engine bay. Additionally, we have a sheet of photo etch. Okay, so a single sheet. It's on a protective cardboard. And this is for the seat belts. So let's see if I can zoom in a bit here. You can see there you've got your seat belt sashes. So these are the anchor points. And then you've got the buckles. You've got the 3-point harness there. And then you've got some more buckles there too. Okay, so that's always a nice touch. And then from there we have the decals. So decals, let me just zoom back out again. Decals are really nice and colourful. Okay, so you get your pinstriping across the top here. Just move this so it's a bit easier to see. Okay, so you get numbers, you have the driver's markings. So they're quite a nice thin decal. You can see as I'm moving around, it doesn't have a lot of sheen. So these are matte finish. And all you need to do is apply them carefully and then put a clear coat over them, and then you'll be able to bring out their full gloss. Okay, so that's nice. So there's your instrument panels there, and some engine warning and emblem decals as well. Okay, let's just pop those back in the bag. All right, so they're all the clear parts. Let's pop them in there. And then we end up with, let's have a look at the body first, I think. So very nice proportions there. So this was at a time in the 80s where they had that very pointed look. Got a similar sort of look with a Corvette, but the Corvettes have a much longer nose. And then also with the Mazda RX-7, a similar look. But of course with each one of these cars, they had characteristic styling. So there's no way you could, mistake this for, say, an RX-7, although it has common cues. The RX-7 had a much flatter nose. And then you had this very specific rear spoiler on the Porsches. Okay, so you can see here, you've got the engine bay that's all opened up. You've got your headlights there. It'll be interesting to see whether or not the headlights can be popped up or not. And then you have your rear end. Okay, so quite a nice one-piece body. All right, let's pop that back in the bag. And then we end up with a large bag here of all the rest of the parts. And as we take them out of here, let's just separate the parts. Okay, so we've got the tires. Let's just bring this over here. A bit easier to see. All right, so you've got rubber tires, they're slicks. So as you expect for a racing car, you want slicks, and then there's poly caps there as well. So the poly caps are there to hold the wheel in place so they can still rotate. Okay. Rubber tires. Okay, we've got some chrome parts. Actually, it's probably easier over there. All right, so your chrome parts, we've got your discs. There's also the, this looks like the intake manifold. Sides of the engine. Get your cam cover there as well, with a big Porsche across it. And this thing here, not too sure. That could be, what is that? Maybe a footrest, maybe for the interior of the car. And then you have your reflectors there for your rear vision mirrors. Okay, from there we've got this big white sprue. Okay, so you got mainly the interior. You got the big bonnet there. You can see how the bonnet, let's see if I can get that. It is very highly polished. So that's going to match the polishing on the body. So you'll make sure that you get a really nice shiny dew coat after you paint that. You get your side panels, rear apron, sport seats here with the backings. Okay, so they're hollow on the back. You just need these parts to fill them in. Looks like the rear seat section, and then there's your dashboard right there. So rear vision mirrors. Okay. And then over here we have the wheels. Really nice look on the forged wheels. Let's just zoom in on that a bit more. Just like that. You see how fine those nut details are? And just the forging. And you'll see here where you've got the shafts, and that's where they push into the poly caps, so they can rotate. So nice. They're very, very specific to a 944, this particular design. Okay. And then we end up with these grey components. Let's just zoom that out again. So here we have the floor pan. Okay, you can see how nicely detailed this is here. You've got your engine bay here with the diff, and so this is where all your rear suspension is going to hook up to. You have your rear suspension here. You see this trailing arm. Front skid pan with front arms. You got struts, your steering rod, radiator. You've got your steering wheel, exhaust system, exhaust manifold. You've got your pedals. Here you've got some struts. These are probably for the rear end. The airbox. It's got turbo written on it, so that's probably, yeah, that would be the airbox. And then you get your inside rear vision mirror and various windshield wipers. And if I zoom in, actually, I'll zoom in so you can see some of these finer details. So just here, oops, where are we? Yeah, you'll be able to see the turbo. So that's nicely embossed. And then also here on the steering wheel, you can see the Porsche emblem, and that's engraved. So all that needs is a little bit of a wash, and that'll bring that out very nicely. You see the fans on the radiator there. And then if we look at the floor pan, you see how that's all the rear engine detail. It's not actually engine, that's rear transmission and diff. Okay, then you've got the tunnel to the engine. Okay. And then we have our last sprue, which is this one here. Okay, so white sprue with all your roll cage and another racing seat. So the seats I showed you before, that would be for the standard road car. So you'll leave those off, and then you'll be using this one instead, because obviously with a driver you only need the one seat. And then it would have been stripped out and you use the roll cage for stiffness and for safety. Okay, so that's all the parts there. So let's have a look at the manual. So here's a manual. So we've got a description of the history of the car. We've got the legend here for the paints. So the painting guide, as per usual with Hasegawa, it shows the numbers for the GSI colours. First light being for the lacquers, And then the second lot with H's, that's for the water base. Okay, so this is a folding out style manual. Over here we have the legend of all the parts, and you can see the shaded areas are the components that aren't used for this particular kit. And then you start with your construction. Okay, let's move that up a bit. All right, so you start with the engine. You can see how comprehensive the engine components are. Well, it's just a 4-cylinder and it's got a turbo. And then we can move on to the front suspension. So the front struts with the skid plate and the arms. Then we start working on the rear end. So you've got the rear suspension going in. So you got your trailing arms. You've got the tail shaft. Engine is fit to the engine bay. You have the radiator out in the front. You've got the stiffening strut that goes across the front mounts of the shocks. Then we start putting together the wheels and the tyres. They just slip over. Exhaust system is dropped inside. And then you start getting to the interior, and you've got this. This is a complicated part, which is the seat belt. So if you can work out this and take your time, you end up with a lot of detail, because just these small details there add a lot of character to the inside of your car. So you've got, this is actual size. You can measure up these seat belts, and then this is also actual size to work out where your photo etch appears when it's all strapped together. And there's your 3-point harness in the center here, and then you just have to wrap all these harnesses through the seat, and then you have your anchor points, which you'll fit down a bit later. From here we've got the internal tub. You've got your center section here with a painting guide and emergency fire extinguisher, roll cage. And here's where we finally fit in the racing seat. And paying attention to the anchoring points, so on the roll bar and then also at the base of the inner tub. So you can see here's the extra detail, so you need to do a little bit of bending for the anchoring points. You got the side panels of the interior. They're stuck to the sides of your roll cage. Then your dashboard goes in, and then that tub is mounted into the floor pan. Now from there, we're going to be moving on to the bodywork. All right, so you've got your clear going into the bodywork itself, and then the bonnet is prepared. You've got the insides there. That's the interior of the bonnet. You've got the rear apron, your lights, and then you clip all this inside, and that's it. So from the looks over here, the lights can be popped up or down, because you can see the hinging mechanism, and they've got a little symbol there that you don't glue that component. So that's a nice touch. And then from there, we have in the center, this is your painting guide, and then also your decal guide. So quite a nice scheme. You will have to mask that because it'll be two-tone. And over here, they give you the actual mix percentages of getting this correct tone with the GSI paints. Okay, so there's A-type color, which is that darker tone, which will be the blue. Then the white will just be a standard white. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So that is the manual there. And that's the kit. Let's just pull this out. So there you go. That is the Hasegawa 124 scale 944 Porsche Turbo. That was raced at the 1987 SCCA Enduros. Really nice kit. Nice looking car. And it's also, these racing cars always look good in your collection because nice and colourful. Sometimes a road car can just look a little bit plain. So this is a nice point of difference. So there you go.